So, what are the clues to elderly abuse? Today, we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon and welcome to the Prudent Money Radio Show. I'm your host, Bob Brooks. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it. Well, today we're not taking questions, but that's okay because you can get your question answered at prudentmoney.com. Very easy to do. Just go to the website. You'll see a box at the top banner that says have a question. Click through, ask your question, get into as much detail as you'd like. More detail, the better. And I can return that email with a comment or suggestion, whatever might help you. So that's one way to get information. And the thing is, I've been talking about this. We have rebuilt the Prudent Money site and think it's an even much better resource. So go check it out and tell us what you think if you get a chance to. We would appreciate that. That's all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Frequently throughout the week, I receive notices about criminal cases. Well, not criminal cases, security law cases that come through the State Security Board or the SEC or FINRA, which are all regulatory bodies for what I do for a living. They monitor and regulate the financial services business through financial advisors. And as I read these, I take special interest in them because I want to share with you anything that can help you spot these financial crimes right at the very beginning of them. And so that you don't get suckered into it, or what's even worse is an elderly parent. And the responsibilities that adult children have on them is just incredible at times. And this is just another one of those responsibilities that you've got to figure out a way to just make sure you're involved in, especially on the decision making, the way that your parent, maybe a parent or both parents, how they're spending money. And we can talk about a few ways to do that towards the end of the segment. But this is, I wanted to go through this particular case with you because this was probably one of the easiest to see right up front. And this financial advisor of Freehold, New Jersey, agreed on May 5th to pay back a little over $1 million in ill-gotten gains to 4 victims whose money he promised he invest, but actually used for personal expenses and gambling. The Securities and Exchange Commission, which oversees the wealth management industry, accused this advisor of telling clients from October 2015 to March 2021 that he had put their funds into promissory notes with a guaranteed 13% return. The notes they just never existed, according to the SEC. The SEC also said the financial advisor promised to invest the client's money into 2 private companies. Blue Omega, supposedly a cybersecurity company, and Global Techs, supposedly a financial consulting firm. The funds were instead funneled into entities that the advisor owned and that had no legitimate business activities. Before I go further and talk about the process that you go through to determine if something is a little shady, meaning you want to back away. And here's the thing. I would suggest that if say an investment that your elderly parent has been proposed to them, they really like it, and of course They want their freedom to choose in most cases. Hopefully it's with your help and oversight in making sure that it's a good choice. But there are definite ways to determine if it is something that could be a little shady. And the thing is, if you see even a little shady, I wouldn't. It's not even worth investigating, because any financial advisor that puts a deal together to present, especially someone who is elderly, has I even think more of a responsibility to make sure that it's appropriate for that particular individual. One of the things that you're looking for is if the financial advisor, the first top two things you're looking for is if the financial advisor is actually registered currently with the SEC or FINRA or the State Securities Board, but is in good standing and is registered. Now, if you go to brokercheck.org, you can get that answer. And if you went to brokercheck.org and you could not find the name, and then you went and asked the advisor, could you show me your brokercheck.org report, and they couldn't do it, or maybe they made something up that looks like it, I would even go back and compare it and have them show you the link and everything. I mean, I wouldn't take any chances with this, because you should be able to find the name on BrokerCheck. But that's going to tell you everything that you need to know, including whether or not this individual has had an ethical career or not. So the first thing that you're wanting to find out is the broker registered? And the second thing is you're going to want to inquire if the particular investment is registered. This is a little bit tougher to understand, a little bit tougher to figure out, but it is doable, and I would definitely inquire as to proof that it is a registered product, that the SEC has given its blessing over it. What you're seeing, and in this particular case, is what came up on this case, is a promissory note. Pretty basic stuff. Pretty easy scam to run. Is that in this particular case, it was we're going to basically you're going to put your money into this investment, and there's several different types of investments, none of which are registered. So keep that in mind. And if they're not registered, that means they can end up in the advisor's the one who's committing fraud, his or her bank account. And then they can spend it on whatever they choose to. And so, the victim is not real concerned, because they know that they're getting guaranteed 13% returns. In fact, it's not unusual. In fact, probably more, I would speculate, this is purely my speculation, that more often than not, they send a detailed breakdown of the fraudulent investment and reporting as if it is invested. And the thing about it is most people don't know what's a scam and what's a real live investment report. So you can see how sticky this gets. So you see it in these promissory notes. You also see it, and I'm not picking on real estate. There are a lot of scams that have gone, a lot of fraud that's gone on in real estate, unfortunately, because there's a lot of good people in real estate doing investment deals, doing really good, solid real estate deals. There's a lot of scams that are going on too. Same thing in oil and gas. So those would be my top three that I would be real careful about and make sure that you've done your due diligence. And anybody who is reputable welcomes you doing your due diligence. In fact, I would suggest that you could be a big help as an advisor to do the due diligence of what they're looking for and help them through that process. But you're looking for, once again, products that are not registered, and an advisor who is not registered. Now, if they say, oh, you don't need to do that, you don't need to look that up, that's not important, and I'll tell you why. Here's what you need to know. And here, probably the most outrageous thing that I've come across is there was one guy who was committing fraud, and he used all the information from an advisor that had a website, and he showed these people his certificates, and of course his picture wasn't on any of it. And then they made up a website. No, I'm sorry, they didn't make up a website. They used the advisor's website. That's what's so amazing. Used an advisor's website for credibility purposes. Unbelievable. In fact, I don't even know how they were able to get away with that as long as they did. So this advisor put out these promissory notes guaranteeing to pay out in 13% guaranteed return. What you could have done ahead of time to figure this out, we're going to talk about on the other side of the break. This is Bob Brooks. You are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. We will be right back.
The Word for Today is excited to announce the new official online home for the ministry of Pastor Chuck Smith and Kay Smith, pastorchuck.org. At pastorchuck.org, you'll have instant access to thousands of hours of verse-by-verse teaching by Pastor Chuck Smith from Genesis through Revelation, and full access to special messages on subjects such as prophecy and much, much more. Also at pastorchuck.org, a full library of great teachings by Kay Smith, and a section where you can read some of Pastor Chuck's books online, all free of charge. So visit the new official online home of the Word for Today and the ministry of Pastor Chuck and Kay Smith, pastorchuck.org.
Hi, I'm Jan Markell, host of Understanding the Times. We're very excited to be a part of Bible School Radio. I hope you will join me Saturday, 10 a.m., for cutting-edge guests and the latest information to help you discern the truth, even the inconvenient truth. We'll help you understand our times and contend for the faith. That's Understanding the Times, Saturday at 10 a.m., right here on Bible School Radio, or anytime at olivetreeviews.org.
Dynamic, practical, life-changing.
There's no point in going to church and not letting the Christ who gave birth to the church on the day of Pentecost change your life.
Join us each day as Pastor Paul Shepherd applies the timeless truth of Scripture to everyday life. It's Destined for Victory on this great station.
Weekday afternoons at 3:30 here on Bible School Radio, KDKR.
Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Today, we're not taking questions, and if you do have a question for me, please go to the website, www.prudentmoney.com. Send it in. I will get you taken care of. A great way to get information, opinions, advice, whatever I can do to help you out. Of course, from the standpoint of advice, I can only go so far without getting into a deeper dive, but there are ways to help you get your resources and just get you on the right path if you need some help. So go to prudentmoney.com and go where it says ask a question, and we will take care of you that way. Let's talk a little bit about clues that any one of these four elderly individuals could have looked at, could have warned them, or an adult child. And this is, once again, very important, I think, that as an adult child, we have control over or maybe control is that's a tough word, because most people don't want control over their finances. If you can have a situation though to where you can monitor, I think that's a good thing. And I think if your parent, your elderly parent would think through that process, they would like to have somebody that is kind of helping to monitor things. And like I said, we can talk about that a little bit here as far as how to do that. But what this, just as a review, what this gentleman was doing was signing people. There's four cases they talked about here where he generated over $1 million of fraudulent money. And he basically wrote out promissory notes guaranteeing a 13% return. So as I said earlier in the program, brokercheck.org has every registered advisor on that site, and it has their record. So I go in and I pull this gentleman's record up, and the first thing that jumps off the page, and of course this is a brand new listing for sure, because of it wasn't there when these people were investing money with this gentleman. It says barred. FINRA has suspended this individual from acting as a broker. Please see the detailed report for more information. So he has 15 disclosures, which are 15 red flags that, or could be red flags, that the public needs to know about. He's had, and this one is absolutely amazing, because I don't think I've ever seen anything like this one. He has 14 years of experience, and he has been with 14 different firms. An advisor who moves around a lot, there needs to be a really, really good reason for that. I've been in the business for over 30 years, and I've made 3 moves. And that'll happen for various reasons, that you'll move your registration, move to another company. There's a lot of reasons, especially over a long period of time. But 14 years of experience, 14 firms is not a good one. So if you go to the second page, the information of why he was barred is very clear, and of course, this was not on this. None of the victims would have seen this because this was in the future. And but let's get to though the red flags. The first red flag was that he's been with 14 firms in 14 years of 14 years of experience. Not a really good way to start. Then if you go with the 15 disclosures, every time there's a judgment, any type of financial situation with the advisor, it has to be reported. And so you have 15 disclosures, most of which are judgments and lien amounts, $34,000, $93,000. And they are on his record as current lien amounts, meaning he hasn't done anything to settle them. 2013, and then he had customer disputes, suitability, unauthorized trading, misrepresentations and omissions, breach of fiduciary duty. If you see that on a report, and you still tend to be a trusting person, you really want to have a very, very good explanation and reason for going any further. 7/21/2011, a customer dispute. Then it says award. So the claim went to the customer, and then obviously he didn't have the money, so it went to a judgment. Allegations, new one, negligence misrepresentation, suitability, churning, where it's you take money and invest it from one product to another, just churning commissions, unauthorized trading, a breach of fiduciary duty, which means this is the highest duty that we're held to as an advisor. And what's interesting is that if you go to throughout the pages, you see just judgment after judgment after judgment, lien after lien, damages, customer disputes. Now, all of that was available for anyone to see and anyone to go online and find. But what ended up happening is that these people committing fraud are really, really good at it. And so it's one of those things where they element of trust came into the situation, and the next thing you know, they're handing money out, handing money over. Now, one of the things that you can do, and one thing that's another big red flag that comes up, is determine where that money is where they're wanting you to write a check to invest the money. It should be going to a reputable clearinghouse or broker-dealer, like a Fidelity, or it could be a Charles Schwab, or it could be a bunch of independent-type broker-dealers. National Financial is a clearinghouse that's a big player in the financial services business. But somebody that you, without question, go, okay, well, that's a reputable dealer, a reputable situation, and still want to continue to check all the other red flags and make sure everything's okay. But at least you know that they're dealing with a reputable dealer. I was just looking at this long list of additional reporting on this gentleman, and he worked for. Okay, so remember, he worked for 14 different firms in 14 years, and 2 of the firms were shut down, expelled from FINRA doesn't say the reason, but I'm sure if you pulled up the firm, you'd see the reason. And it's usually not a very good ethical situation why they shut down the firm. So there you have it. The problem that I'm seeing is that, and why we bring it up on the program as much as we do, is that this is just as rampant. Fraud is rampant, and people are looking for good, solid, guaranteed type returns, and if you can get that to them, you're going to peak in interest. And a situation where people want to look more into it, and they get caught up into the guaranteed and the fear of losing your money and that kind of thing, instead of really looking through situations. And especially if you have a parent with any cognitive issues, and of course that cognitive issues can be with anybody, any age, that's one of those situations where you definitely want to have a lot more control over what's going on. And one of the things there's 2 or 3 different types of things that you can do as an adult child is banking, as far as bank accounts, checking accounts, that kind of thing, is to be a joint owner on the account, to where you have privileges to go online to check the accounts out, to check the transactions out, which is something that's very important to do. Same thing you'd want to do if your parent has, American Express, any kind of credit cards, that you just have the login information, you can check it out and make sure everything is going well. The last thing that I would do is make sure you're hooked up on credit monitoring, and you have your parents credit being looked at all the time. If there's anything that changes, you automatically get alerted. And I believe, and if one last thing, if you can have a conversation with your parents, don't make any investment decisions without me looking over it. Obviously, that doesn't always work, but continue to drive that message home, and you can hopefully avoid a lot of this heartbreak that is still happening and happening at a concerning rate. Hey, this is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. If you got a question for me, please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time, keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.